Also, we're going to need one of those clean yellows, like right here I've got, this is not nickel azo yellow, this is just azo yellow, but you could use anything with that kind of color to it, or you could come over here and dip up a little of mine. If I could keep those separate.
Would you do cad yellow or?
Cad yellow would be fine, huh? Oh, well, I've got, this is azo yellow, but you could use nickel azo. It won't be quite as, this green has just got a really nice effect here, and that's with that azo yellow. So rather than nickel azo, still got some brownishness to it. It's a burnt look to it.
And what was this one?
This is New Gamboge. And I have all of that with me too, if you need any extra, if you need some. Okay. I don't know if I've got enough there. So look, you could do this several ways. Oh, are we recording? Oh, we're recording. Hey, hi. Oh, so I really like that's the colors that I used in this one, and I thought it turned out prettier color than the other one. And I picked the other piece because I thought it was simpler. And then when I got into it, it really wasn't one bit simpler. It was just bigger, so it looked simpler. Okay. So, this works. So these are Cannas, not that it really matters. By the time I get through with them, you probably won't recognize what they are. And it won't matter. Okay, so, I'll put this over here. All right, here we go. So the way I'm starting out, I'm going to start out with my yellow, and I want my yellow to be, pretty thin. I would say 99% of the time it's a bad thing to put yellow on thick. 99%, that's pretty strong opinion there. Okay, so let's just get this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, here's that petal. And it doesn't have to be that petal, There's one in behind that does something like this, and then there's one over here.
And you're not worrying about value or depth at this point?
No, and I'm not concerned with even separating one petal from another for the most part. Okay, so then there's one that's coming down this way. And I'm letting let's leave a few twinkles for now. Okay. Then down here, we've got one that's in behind some of the others. And see, mine, if you later come back and look at this, or you were to take an overlay of this and put it over that, there's going to be nothing about them is going to look alike. And that's a great thing about flowers. Because even if someone does come and compare them, in an hour the thing will wilt some, it still won't match. You can count on that. So, and I know some people are bothered by flowers. They say they're hard. And I think they're easy because, you can get them really, really wrong and no one cares.
Or knows.
Yeah, because they can't care because they don't know. Yeah. So, well, I've got this. See, this is running off the bottom of my page. I needed all this stuff down here. Well, I'll just move some of it up. None of that'll matter. There's a fourth bloom over here. I can't count it. It's a fourth. Okay. So, I think I will separate it just a little bit because this is turning into too big of a blob. You could take these brushes and you can just stamp them down sometimes, or you can let little areas run off like that. So that's another bloom. So there's 3 blooms. And I'm a little bothered. I'm wondering if some of these places are a little darker than what I wanted. And I could just come in and soften some of it just by blotting and pull up a little bit of color. If I get a little bit of textures, sometimes blotting will wind up with a creepy edge. I would be perfectly happy because that can look good too. So I'm going to take my Quin Coral and I'm going to mix. I'm not going to put it on here pure. I'm going to mix the Quin Coral into my yellow for now. And I'm going to go ahead and all of this is going to be very soft edged. It's going to run. And part of what this does is this helps your viewer find the center of the flower. Actually, it helps you find the center too later. See, I'll just.
So you definitely want to work this flat, not as slow.
Right. You want to work this on a flat surface. The other thing is, if you want this to not run too much, which actually I'm fine with it running, but if you want this to not run too much, then work with thicker paint. Because remember, thick paint into thin paint, the thick paint doesn't move as much. So you could do that. This has got a center, which is going to run away here, but see, there's a little center there. But this petal is a little darker on that side. I'll do that. I think I'll thicken it a little bit. And this one's in shadow. As long as I do this pretty fast, this is still wet. Oh, I forgot which flower I was on. That can happen too. That can happen to you a lot. It's fine. They're just flowers, and they'll all work it out in the end. They may have to fight amongst themselves for a while, but they'll figure out who they are. Okay, so that's that tip. And there's kind of a shadow there. And I don't have to get all these shadows right, and I don't have to get them in the right place. But I need some, and they're not shadows. This is local color. This is the areas where these have more color, but they also kind of tend to go in towards the center of the, see, you can't tell where the center of this flower is. I think that I will fill in this yellow space there. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put a little bit, let's start a little bit of green happening in here. So what I'm going to do is, you know what, I don't want that running in over here. I'll put it in over here.
So what blue did you use there?
Okay, so I have got a phthalo, that's phthalo green, blue shade. And again, I'm just working with, oh, look at that, what that petal does there. See how it curves up and does that fun little thing there? Well, that's just joyful. Here, let's just do it. Okay, and oh, and if I should happen to bump this petal and some green runs into it, fine. Going to have a stem coming through here, which I could just cover this up. You don't have to skip around it. But I'll put a little bit there. Now that doesn't mean this is going to wind up this color in the end. That's just what it's doing right now. But we do want some of this real light green showing later. And maybe we want some of it to be lighter. Okay, and oh, here's one way over here. Does this look like that? No, but you know, we can live with it. Here's the thing. When you finish yours, no one has to ever see the original. So there's a shadow down here, back part of the leaf. Mostly I just want to get some green started in here. I don't really need to map out the whole thing. In fact, I might prefer not to. Oh, here's some big old leaf over here. think I changed brush sizes and didn't even realize I'd done it.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's some dark in here between these. I think I'll keep that separation there. Okay, so let's do one more thing just to make good happy time. Let's just spatter. And the thing is too, if you spatter into some of these damp places, you may get some other kinds of runbacks and things. And you're going for that. Let's get some of
Within
that.
hope.
Yeah. So that would be my beginning. Okay. This bits of yellow green that are still left showing. The rest of this is coral and phthalo in different amounts. You can see you can get kind of a gray there. You can get almost a turquoisey blue. I think that came from those colors. I don't think I added anything there. You know, in here, same thing. That's just got more red in it. You know, just these variations. And when you look at this, it's got a lot of that kind of color in it. But I think it just makes a beautiful thing happen. Now,
What is this color here?
that is a combination of phthalo green and coral.
Okay, phthalo
Yeah.
green and coral.
Right. Okay. So, and what I forgot to mention a while ago was that this makes just a good, strong graphic to help you find things, and you may find it useful even though you're working freehand. Your choice, but if I had been looking at that when I did this, I think I would have done a little bit better with it. Okay, so we've got quin coral here, and I'm going to bring some phthalo over into the coral. Now, phthalo is a lot stronger, so you want to be cautious. And then I want to put some coral into the phthalo. And maybe keep some pure phthalo here. You can see I've just got mixtures. Okay, so let's see, what are we going to do here? I think I'm going to go ahead and work on the center of my flowers a little bit first. And if you're feeling a little discombobbled with this, you can always take a pencil and find a few edges. And I should say, make up a few edges inspired by the photo, because if you're doing this freehand, like I did, you probably, you're going to improvise. All right. So on top of that, let's take a little bit more, new gambage, a little bit more coral. So I want this to be stronger. So I've got more coral into it too. You can see it looks a little darker, but in order to balance it, the new gambage really needs to get a little thicker too. And when I say thick, you know, that's a relative term. I'm not talking real thick. So let's see. I'm going to make the edge of this, because here's the back of some
Yeah.
petals.
Where are you looking?
Okay, I am looking right here, which should be right there. At this point, I don't know which one looks more like what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to take water and just touch the edge out here. A lot of water. You can skip a spot if you want. Make some things look a little weird. It's okay. It's good. Okay, so now we're beginning to get a sense of where the center of the flower is. Okay, so let's look at, okay. Hey, I'll try something novel. Let's look at the photo. Okay, so I have, oh, see, you can hardly tell that this is this. I bet that's hard to all get on camera. Don't worry if you don't. So I kind of have to make a guess at what will make it happen, or I can make something else happen. Got a little bit more dark out in this spot. I should have turned my phone off. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, that's kind of nice. Here's another petal up here. Let's make a little darker edge on this petal. Doesn't have to be real dark. They don't all have to be the same amount of value. So the problem is this flower right here. I need an edge on this flower. So I'm going to add a little more color.
You're doing right here.
Yeah, I'm trying to make that happen. So you can see that this looks nothing like that, and it's going to
If
have
you
to have
squint
some
and
other
tilt your
help.
head, it does.
If you tilt your head and squint real hard, I think I'll make another petal up there. That'll balance it out. Except it doesn't show up, so I've got to get it a little stronger to make it hold up there. Okay, got that. Let's put another center in. And by the way, I'm getting some of the water out of this brush because this brush carries so much water. I don't want to thin this out too much. So on this one, you kind of have a little center thing like that going on. We got a lot of color in this one that's darker. And I think I'll make this stronger. I'm not going to try to make that be that little center yet because we need to bleed this out. Bleeding out. That sounds
It doesn't
like
sound
something
good,
from
but
the
it's all right.
emergency room,
That
doesn't it?
sounds medical.
Yeah.
Sounds terminal.
Yeah, it does.
Not
It
good.
does. It does not sound good. More coral. Okay, here. So let's see, what else can we do? I'm going to make this petal. This petal's in shadow. You see, you could put this petal in shadow, but if you don't put this petal in shadow, it won't hurt a thing. You do not have to do it just like I'm doing it. In fact, I may wish I hadn't done it like I'm doing it. You know, it's okay. So let's see. Well, I don't know if I have an extra petal in here or what. This is kind of broken up. I just want to get some darker color in here. There. So that's some centers. I'll go ahead and do one more. There is edge here that I could do. And then I can also make this area under here. I still don't have enough paint mixed up. So if I come over and get on to you about not having enough paint mixed up, you remind me that I'm not perfect either.
We're just following directions.
There, so there's that, and let's see. What else could make that? I don't know. There's a couple of things going on there. I don't know what's going on there. But you're beginning to see flowers happen. Now comes the tricky part.
Uh-oh. I thought that
Because
was-
we're going to be adding in these greens. And I want to take this yellow green out of here. And I think I don't have enough phthalo out. There. There's some that looks phthalo, and there's some that looks gray, and here's some that looks something else. So we've got this thing here. And again, if you wanted to take a pencil and draw something in, that would work. I totally didn't leave the right shape that suits me in here, but that's going to be okay because I'm just going to go on top of what I had. It's not going to totally cover it up, but it should be interesting. So here I've got some of the reddish tone right there. And you notice I kept it off of the petal here, and then I just sort of broke it up and made weird little shapes there. I'm not working to make reality happen yet. Let's see. So I want some of the sort of bluish gray stuff, and then we want that to run in together. Oh, let's pick up a little more red. And then I don't know what I'm going to do down here. So the trick is when you run into a spot you haven't made up your mind, or you just can't tell yet it should be there, Just add some water and maybe splatter a little bit and go on your way to something else. Okay, so there's the top of this coming on the other side of a petal, which is sort of strange, but I think I want it up here. So I'm just going to make it poke right on through here. I guess it's crooked. It must be bent. Here, let's just make it fatter. Come over that way. And you notice I got some little sparkles in there. So I think I'll make another thing. Well, maybe I'll make more things. Okay, I like that. I just make more things. You know, you don't, you're putting it down and you see something and you just have to decide whether you like it. You know, I could really cover that up. That makes no sense either, but I think I like it better. So I don't care whether it makes sense. So some places I might want to use a bigger brush. I'm working pretty wet here. So let's see. Let's look at this. Get it. Let's look at this leaf up here. Oh, you know what? That leaf's coming from a different plant. Well, now it's going to come from this plant. So we're just going to make it come down here. And oh, we need some red in that. So you notice the colors, I've got the colors modified. They're not pure color anymore. But then I'm taking the modified color and I am mixing it here on the page. And I think I want a little bit more green up in here. That's just too... Well, again, I'm not sure where I want to go with that, but I've got something interesting happening, and past that, I'm happy to just let it be for now. In fact, though, maybe I'll just throw a little orange up here. Because...
Just because?
Because. Because Charlie makes orange backgrounds, and they look great. So... Oh, this is a big leaf here, and it could come down, it could do that. It could. It is now. And I can add all this other color into it. I think this is too much of this yellow-green here. I wanted bits of it. I didn't want that much.
Well, I kind of like it.
I could, oh, okay, well, too late. I could lift a little bit there if I wanted to, but I don't want to take time to on a demo. So I'm just putting a little bit of the, oops, now that's all running. That's pretty decent. Let's just kind of start making a little background color here. And we may, see, that's the beginning of a little background color. We're going to need a lot more stuff going on up in here. And let's see. You know, I think I can see. I may not even have it on the drawing. I really don't. There's a leaf right there that I kind of like. See, if you like the leaf or you like where it's placed, you put it there. If you don't like where it's placed, then put one someplace else. And this one is kind of rocking along, kind of like that little dude right there. It's kind of got some nice swivel to it. Let's see, if I move my brush too fast, my paint's too thin. And I want this paint to be juicy and as I'm doing this, this is beginning to form the petals too. They're beginning to, the edges of the petals are standing out. Let's put a little dark right in there. So for right now, there's that. So it's a matter of having more red in some places and more green in others, and always letting them mix. So you're not putting any area or very few areas that are pure red out there. You're putting areas out that are red with green. And they're flowing in together. And goodness only knows where this leaf came from. But there it is. So you get the general idea, okay? My main thing that I'm bothered with on this is that I have too much of the yellow green, and I'm just going to come back and modify some of it, but I do not want to get rid of all of it because it really adds a dimension to this that's lacking if you don't L's around it, because it looks better with the L's around it, and a lot of the time yours will too, because it's cropped in more than what you probably were doing, especially when you're working freehand like that. But I need to take them off of here now. See, it looked a lot better with the L's. Okay, so I need to, this is the darkest spot I've got on here. Oh, yes, and I got Mr. Magic, and I broke up some edges. I softened some areas on the, even on the petals.
Very good.
Okay, so now I'm going to come in with, my darker. I still want it to be primarily coral, but just a little bit of the green in it so it gets a lot darker. And let's go ahead and give it a little bit stronger center, particularly on this one. And then I got to soften it before it dries. So you should do one at a time. I'm just doing it like this because I'm trying to be really fast. Okay, for instance, you may have a few other places that can use some extra shadow. You don't want to use a lot of this, because if you use a lot of it, you'll dull your flower down because it's got that green in it. So that can really kill it back. But then on the other hand, if you just got in a few places, it's going to make it pop, right? So now I want to get more darks. By the way, I like this spot, and I think I'm going to leave it alone. But I thought that one thing that would be nice is some more of this stuff going on. So I thought I would just put some in. And probably this would have to have an extra layer added to it. But you can see how I add a little green in there even. Just, I wanted to get a little piece of dark up there, and I didn't want it to be this. So we need some more darks. Let's get some darks in here.
What are you using for dark?
That is still the phthalo green with a little bit of coral in it.
Phthalo green and coral.
Okay, so I want those darks, and then, whoops, I'm going to fade it because I really don't care to make a big deal out of that edge up there. So again, wet brush. We're not stroking a bunch, okay? We're just going to go wet, and we're going to touch the edges, or some of the edges. You don't have to touch all of them. Maybe you want to leave a little crisp spot or a little twinkle in there. And so I'll fade it up like that. You see how this is beginning to change as I'm working it? Going and putting in a few strategic darks can make a big difference. And this is something where you want to put some thinking time in. So you don't want to try to just dash all this off. You know, when we're doing it in class, we're trying to make a lot happen in a little bit of time. And you really need time to think and do things. But you see what this can do for it? Then this spot right here. I really love the shape of that leaf, and I have just, it's just lost. So I'm going to come in with my dark here. I want to keep a little bit of that bright green. I don't want to lose all of it. But it's real easy to cover too. So I want this to just dance like it did before. And so I've changed colors. Yeah, but these are both muted colors. And I'm going to fade it down that way to who knows where or what it is. I probably need a dark in there too, but let's make this area a little bit stronger. So you're picking and choosing where to pop some darks in. And a lot of it has to do with where you want your color to move in the painting. Where you want your eye to move, where you want your viewer to look. You can do some of it with color, but the most important thing is the value. You know, how dark it is way more important than what color it is. So didn't want that to come off on this. Let's just look. I can't. I don't want to mess up my white L's there. So I'll just crop it this way this time. There, like that. But you can see what the darks did for it. So you want to do that strategically. Take your time and think. You know, you might want to do, like I said, you know, this one I spent several hours on. And in the meanwhile, I cropped it and I kept working on it cropped so that I could adjust exactly how I wanted it to go. So I actually took this one and tore around the edges to bring it in.
To bring it in?
To make it cropped like this.
Okay.
So that I could,
So you could float it?
and I could float it on a piece of watercolor paper, you know, another piece of watercolor paper, that could look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's almost, and I had very little hope for it after I started it off in front of y'all, quite frankly, and look at it, you know, it's semi-working. So, and the other little thing that I did here that I thought created balance and really helped was just taking, I didn't want them to be bright, but just finding places where I might want to just add a little bit of just a shape that makes no sense, but it's just a hint of a shape, like I did there.
I like that.
You know, just
Yeah.
little things. So don't forget that, but be careful that they don't get too bright, because they shouldn't, you know, be brighter than the basic work. So that's really all, and I took the magic sponge and literally swiped through several areas here. So